So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys, based on the time zones you all are coming from. So guys, before we start with the session, can you all please give me a quick information if you all can see my screen and hear me loud and clear as well? Perfect. Thank you so much for the confirmation, everyone. So my name is Neeraj Keria, guys, and I've been working in the IT industry for more than 13 years now. So first of all, we have gathered here to discuss on the tips and tricks on Tableau platforms. So first of all, we are going to discuss on what exactly Tableau is. We are going to talk about Tableau architecture, and then we are going to talk about the common tips and tricks in Tableau, where we are going to focus on creating calendars in Tableau, switching between multiple fields, big numbers, and animated visualization, how we can work around those. So Tableau, as we know, has been one of the main tools in BI. So when we talk about BI, it refers to business intelligence tools. So whenever we have large data set that needs to be visualized, then we are going to make use of this BI platforms. And we have multiple BI platforms available in the market, like we have Power BI, we have Tableau. Now, these two platforms are the main BI solutions offered in the market, along with multiple other vendors. Now, why Tableau is one of the leaders in this domain? First of all, it is the easiest platform to get started and to start creating multiple visualization as per the requirement. It is flexible. That means, again, it allows us to create multiple visualized reports, and plus it also allows us to connect with multiple data sources. For example, we have data stored in the cloud platforms, we have data stored in databases, we have an Excel file, we have CSV sources, we have ERP solutions. So we can get connected to multiple data sources, and then we can extract data from there and then create the visualization on top of it. It has an intuitive platform that makes sure that the entire platform is much easier to use by any individual. And then it offers multiple visualization reports formats, and then the entire time required for creating a complete dashboard, and plus our custom visualization is much easier as compared to other tools. Now, what exactly Tableau is? Now, we know that Tableau is basically one of the leading platforms in terms of BI. So again, BI as in business intelligence. And Tableau helps the world's largest companies to unleash their most valuable assets. That means their data and the people. And it allows the customers to spend more time on data analysis and less on data wrangling here. So when we say data wrangling, that means it involves processing the entire data set in the right format possible, so that in case there are some anomalies in the given data set, then that can be removed easily by using these tools. Then we have, now first of all, before we discuss further, let's see how exactly Tableau works. So for doing that, we can open up Tableau platform. Just a moment. To work with Tableau, we can download the Tableau public version as well. So in case we don't have the access to the enterprise version, we can go ahead and download Tableau public. So Tableau public is like a community tool offered by Tableau, which we can start using for free. Just like we have Power BI offered for free, same way we have Tableau platform also available as a public version. Now to start, once we have Tableau public desktop installed, downloaded and installed, we can open this up by simply opening up Tableau. So here we can open up Tableau public. And for our reference, we are going to make use of a sample data file, like we have a global superstore. So we are going to make use of that. So we have Tableau global superstore dataset. Now this is a dataset already available by Tableau itself. So you can refer to this link to download this data file that we are going to work on. So here we can click on this link here, which says tableau.com/the global superstore dataset. So this is the data that we are going to work on. So once we have opened up Tableau public, then this is a dashboard that we are going to look at. So we can start with defining a data source. So here we have to define what is the data source. That means we are going to fetch data from where. So if we have data stored, let's say in CSV file, we have data stored in our database, we have data stored in any of the cloud platforms, in ERP solutions. So we can choose the right data source here. So for that, we can now let's say we do have the access to a CSV file, correct, or an Excel file. So here we can choose Microsoft Excel, and then we can choose a file where exactly it has been stored. Let's say we are going to make use of this file here called Global Superstore Order. So we can choose this file, click on open, and this is going to take a bit of time depending upon how big the data is. So once this file has been imported, we can see the list of, this is an Excel file, correct? So here we can see the list of all the sheets available in this Excel file. So we have two sheets available with us. We have orders and then we have people. So if you open up orders, we can see the list of all the data pointers available in this sheet. So we have row, we have order ID, order date, shipment mode, customer ID, customer name. We have the postal code. That means these all details are currently available in this sheet that we have the access to. Same way for people, we have now in people we have the person and then we have their region name. Now, if we have multiple sheets available here and we want to establish a relationship between these sheets, then we can do that easily by referring to by simply creating a join here. So when we want to create the joins here, we can simply do that by specifying the joins as per the requirement. All right. So here, let's say now just to avoid confusion, we are going to work with just one sheet. So here we can simply delete this. So here we are going to work only on one sheet for now, just to avoid confusion. And here we can define orders. Now under orders, we can, now if you want to start visualizing it, so here we can double click on orders and here we can go to sheet one. So once we have data imported, now we can go back to sheet one. Now to start the visualization, here we can simply click on sheet one, and this is going to be the main canvas where we have to start drawing. So first of all, let's suppose we want to work on importing any data, right? So let's say even though when we are working on the sheets, if we have just open up Tableau desktop, then here we can click on this icon which says new data source, or we can simply click on file, and here we have open, right? Let's say we want to fetch data from anywhere. So here we have to click on new data source. We can define the data source. That means if we want to import a JSON file, a text file, we want to get connected to any database, or if you want to import a simple Excel sheet. So here we can click on Excel, and then we have to choose a sheet that we want to open here. So let's say here we also want to open a financial sample. So here we can open this file, click on open, and then this is going to read the content stored in this file, and then we will be able to start using this file as per the requirement. So now if you go back to sheets here, we can see we have all the data pointers available here. So this is what we have in from financials, and this is what we have in the orders file that we have currently imported. All right. So once we are done, we are going now. Let's say here we want to start with the orders sheet. So here we have different data pointers available. Like we can see here, we have the category section. We have the city, country, customer ID, customer name, market, order date, order ID, order priority. Let's say our goal here is to, now we haven't given a problem statement. That means we want to find out how the profit has been distributed for the company for which this data is for, how the profit has been distributed in like on a year by year basis. So this is a problem statement, right? To work on solving this kind of problem, what we can do, we can first of all import the data pointer as profit, right? So here we have profit, correct? So now we can simply import profit here, and then we can see here profit table has been showcased. Now we want to get insight on how profit has been distributed on a year by year basis, correct? So we have to find out the data pointer which contains the information for date as in the year by year, right? So here we have order date. So now we can fetch order date and we can simply insert that in the column section. So right now what has happened here, we have defined. So here what we have done, here we have simply plotted the sum as in the profit sum and the year in terms of total years in a simple line graph. And when we choose any data pointer, we in the right section we can see we have all the available visualization for the data pointer that we have selected. Now we can see here some sections are active and some are disabled. So Tableau automatically detects the data pointers that we have selected, and all the possible visualization on these two data pointers are going to be active, and visualization which is not going to be possible on these data pointers are going to be disabled. For example, we have disabled the map section because again, there's nothing to plot here on map, correct? So again, that's why this map part has been currently disabled for all the data pointers that we have selected. All right. And suppose if we want to change the type of visualization, then we can choose any type of visualization from here we want. For example, let's say we want to go for an elongated part here. So here we can choose this one. We want to go for an area chart. So here we can choose area chart. We want to go for the heat for again a simple heat map here. Then we can simply choose a heat map. Or we can choose if, for example, we want to choose for bar graph. So here we can choose bar graph and so on. So depending upon the type of visualization, we can choose it accordingly. All right. Now, let's say if we want to work further on this component, let's say here we have a requirement of finding now currently it looks plain. Currently it looks like a steep increase in the profit on a year-to-year basis, correct? Now, if you want to dig deeper on how exactly the profit has been distributed. So currently we can see in year we have data for multiple. Now here we have data for quarter, here we have data for month, for day as well. For example, we want to visualize this further. So here we can split this up by clicking on this option which says plus. So year has been divided into multiple quarters as well. So you can see now we have reports for different quarters. We can see how has been the performance for 2012, for 2013, 14 and 15 as we have data for these 4 years. Now earlier, if we had noticed, then earlier we were looking at a steep graph like this one, correct? And now we can see the graph has been changed. That means now we can see the exact performance on a year by year basis. So here we can see the performance was almost on rise on in 2012, but 2013 was not that good. So after the second quarter, it had been, we can say, not a steady increase. It has been a slow growth from second quarter to fourth quarter. And same way from in 2014, there has been a steep increase from third quarter, as you can see here, whereas in 2015, there has been a steep growth from in the second quarter itself, correct? So that's how we can see the performance of different quarters here. And now we are getting a better insight on the performance on a year basis, correct? Now, let's say here we want to make sure we are having the data for quarter, or suppose we also want to split this again in months. So we can see here we have again performance of different months here. Now, let's say if we don't want to split this in month, and let's say we have to use a single graph, and now we want to plot different year data on different graphs itself, right? So what we can do, let's say here we can pull the year section here. So once we are done, now let's say here we want to work on further analysis. So what we can do, we can simply, now let's say here we want to make use of a single graph. Now currently we have 4 graphs for different years. Now we want to work on a single graph analysis. So what we can do, we can simply pull and we want that we should be having a single graph. We should be having a single graph, and then we should be having different colors for different years so that we can visualize them in a single graph, and then we can compare them with each other as well. So we want to have a single graph. For example, for 2014, we want to have a different color. For 2012, we want to have a different color. For 2013, we want to have a different color, and so on. So we want to use different colors, and that's how we want to map it on a single graph, correct? So for that, we can choose the data pointer which should be used as a legend, because currently if we want to have different colors, that means we want to add those data pointers as a legend value, correct? So for that, for adding them as a legend, we can simply drag. For example, we want to add year as a legend value, so we can drag here, and here we can define them as a part of color code. So because we want to show data year as a different color value on the same graph, correct? So you can drag year here and we can drop it in color. Now we can see what we have. If we expand this, okay, we have simply undone what we have done. So now we can simply change the value here. Now what we can do here, we can simply define this for quarter, and let's suppose here we want to define on a year basis, correct? So here we can define order date, and here we can define based on the year wise. So now if you want to see, now currently we can see here we are seeing the performance based on different quarters. And same if you wanted to visualize it on different years, then we can also do that. For example, suppose here we are seeing for different quarters. Let's say we don't want to go for year. And again, we want to segregate quarter as well. So here we can again segregate quarter in terms of month as well. Let's say here here we don't want to see the report for different quarters. And if you want to remove this, we can simply choose this data pointer, and here we can click on remove. And now we want to use year as a legend. So here we can simply drag and drop year as color here, and we can see here we have different color graphs defined for different year. And currently we are seeing a single graph where we have different years defined by different colors as a different legend. And then we can see the same performance for each and every year. As you can see, from January to December, we have seen the performance for 2014, 2012, and 2015 as well. And if we hover over any of the data pointer here, we can see the month and order of date, September, the year, the profit as in the exact value that we are going to look at as we start hovering over on this data pointer, as you can see here, right? And now let's say if we want to perform other calculations, for example, let's say here we want to work on other calculations, then also we can do that. Let's say here we want to work on further calculation, as in we want to find out the year-on-year growth. So here we can simply right click on any of the elements here, and then we can now here in Tableau we can find the insight, we can find the recommendations based, we can also generate the forecast based on the data pointers that we have selected so far. And let's say once we are done, now let's suppose here we want to find out the year. Now here we want to find, or here we want to perform multiple other calculations, then we can also do that. So let's say here we want to perform other calculations. Let's say here we can right click on anywhere, and here we can find out first of all the trend lines. For example, say for a given year, let's say for this year we want to find the trend line. So here we can simply right click on this data, and here we have show trend lines. So based on the current data pointer here, based on how they have been going, we can see the trend lines have been automatically been generated for each and every data pointer here, correct? Same way, if there is enough amount of data available with us, then we can find the forecast as well. So for example, let's say here we want to find the forecast of this pointer. So we can right click here, and here we have show forecast. So I can see here now based on the data pointer selected here. So what is a forecast for the current year that we have selected? That is going to be generated automatically by Tableau. So this is how we can plot the sample data set. And suppose if we have different data, for example, let's say currently we have referred to the profit and the year by year distribution. Let's say we want to work on some other data pointers, then we can do that by choosing different data cards. So here we can choose different data pointers here. Let's say here we want to work on a separate sheet. So here we can click on separate sheet, and here we can define, for example, let's say here we want to use data point, we want to see how exactly the profit has been distributed. So you can choose profit. So here we are going to work on a separate sheet, and now let's say we want to see how the profit has been distributed for, let's say, for different countries or for different cities. So here we can simply, now let's say if we have data for different countries altogether, since here we can plot countries and we can see how data has been divided for different countries. So let's say if we choose country, and here we can define columns. Now we can see, now this is not the right type of visualization that we would prefer for plotting this data. And as you can see here, now this data contains geospatial information. So now the tab for map has already been enabled, correct? So to start working on these maps, we can simply choose any of the map that we have. For example, we want to plot this on this type of map, then here we can choose this one. And then the data is going to be plotted on these maps automatically. All right. So, and then we can choose the different type of maps as well. For example, we want to go ahead and apply this one. Then here we can choose, we have different pointers being placed here, or we can make use of this kind of physical map also available, where we can hover over any of the given list here, and then we can see how much profit has been recorded from different countries here. That means we can see from China, we have recorded a profit of 150,000. Whereas in India, we have recorded a profit of 129,000. From US, we have recorded 286,000. So you can see even the density has been defined here. And then for the summer profit, it has been defined as a different color scheme, as a part of different color scheme defined here. And if you want to have a different color scheme defined here as a label, so you can see here currently we have changed this from color to label altogether, correct? So you can choose what kind of visualization we want to have. For example, if we want to go for detail section here, then we can define details. If you want to have a tooltip defined here, then we can define as a tooltip, or we can choose it a label. So we are going to see the label being plotted here for different countries as per the type of visualization, as a type of visualization that we want to plot here. So now we had discussed on how we can replicate data here, how we can choose multiple data pointers. Now we can also create a multi-complete dashboard as well. So for creating a dashboard, here we can click on this option which says new dashboard. And here we can choose all the sheets that we have currently worked on. For example, we have sheet ID 1. So here we can add this sheet, and suppose here we also want to add another sheet. So here we can add multiple data pointers based on whatever we have selected. And then we can choose the entire customization as per the requirement. For example, here we want to customize this based on the phone, on device preview. We can choose that option accordingly. Same way, if you want to play around with the entire layout, so here we can choose the layout. We want to place the entire elements, like how exactly we want to place the elements. We want to change the size. We want to apply the borders here. We want to apply some kind of colored borders here as per requirement. We want to apply the inner padding. So once we are done, we can simply create this kind of customized dashboard, and then we can have the dashboard published directly on Tableau Public. For example, we want to save this up, correct? So here we can click on Save to Tableau Public, and then, but again, for that, we need to have a Tableau Public account created, and then we can start using it. All right, so it's almost time now. So let's do one thing, guys. Let's say we wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for joining, guys, and have a great day ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.